Welcome to Empowerment Radio. My name is Dr. Friedemann, and I'm so glad that you decided to join me. Empowerment Radio is about giving you the insights, tools, and solutions to address some of the most challenging aspects of our daily lives. So sit back, relax, and empower yourself. Welcome back to Empowerment Radio. How to become the leader of your life. How to live a life from a place of purpose and authenticity. The first step or skill to get there is awareness. Neutral observing how you do something, in this case, life, and how that is actually in many ways limiting, holding you back, creating internal obstacles, even though externally the road is wide open for you. Now, a lot of this awareness has also to do with your thoughts and then what you do with those thoughts. I talked about in the first segment about what is really a good leader, and one of the characteristics of a good leader is to communicate well. Now, when you communicate, you are speaking, but also listening. And I think most of us are really terrible in both when it comes to our self. When you think about communication, notice how often you are actually in your head saying things that you wouldn't dare to say out loud. Now, I think when we are really, hearing those things feed back to us, I had this exercise in one of my workshops where people were writing down those things that they usually tell themselves, negative things. And then they were asking people to read that back to them, their neighbors. And it felt really tense because, when you're hearing someone tell you you're stupid, you're fat, you're ugly, you are not really capable of doing anything, you are useless, you are whatever. All of those things hurt when you hear them from someone else. Now, our deeper mind, the subconscious, takes it very personal, whether it comes from someone else or whether we are saying it to ourselves. So it does hurt. We just became a little bit numb to the fact that we do cause ourselves a lot of pain. So notice those things, the words you're using, the inner commentary on yourself, the judgment. That is a way to lose power and certainly not be a good leader, because if you would lead a team like that, they would quit on you after a day. The other thing is that we're internally often telling ourselves stories, right? So there's the same narrative that just repeats itself. It's a commentary on the world around us. Sometimes it's a story about, well, I knew that my boss doesn't care about me because, he hasn't even said good morning. We're ignoring that the boss may have just read the paper or some whatever document and wasn't even noticing that we were in the hallway. Or yes, of course, my spouse doesn't really love us because, once again, the bed wasn't made when I came home. I mean, silly things like that. But there is a narrative that, again, goes back to those limiting beliefs that is really relentless going on inside of us. And that inner communication, we have to be very vigilant about, because it does drain a lot of our energy, and it just throws a dark shadow on our life. See, reality, and I will talk about this more in reframing, reality exists in millions of different versions. My reality and your reality are completely different, and even if we would live parallel lives, you would still see through your eyes, your reality and my reality as two very, very different versions. And that has to do with those filters in our subconscious mind that are simply changing how we are perceiving things. And those filters have a lot to do with our inner stories and those things that we tell ourselves. And that is also in regards to words we are using. Now, I often hear from clients, which is really, really amazing, the most creative, almost poetic things when they talk about how miserable their life is. It's almost like they can write books about their, unluck in life, their their traumas, their incapabilities, and so on. So they really find ways to, in very creative details, to describe why they should and why they have felt this way. But when it comes to changing the story and maybe boosting themselves or looking at the good things in their life, the words are very short, like good, okay, not bad. And there is not really the same flowery description as for the negative. It's almost like that a lot of us are more invested in those self-destructive ways of thinking than in, committing to more self-creative ways of thinking, feeling, and being. And that's something we have to change. That is where we can very quickly make a difference, by noticing I don't want to tell myself the same story. I want to be more open for another possibility, which is where reframing comes in. Or when you are noticing that you're constantly using very harsh words, like words that I feel exhausted, I feel depressed, I feel I don't want to do this anymore. Well, that sounds really, really desperate. And of course, as you're saying it, it just reinforces the feeling. But if you're saying I'm a little tired, or I'm feeling a little, just down today, or maybe more contemplative, well, choose words that are just toning the intensity of the experience and the intensity of the feeling down. Makes a huge difference. Just choosing how you want to describe something. I often talk about the shoulds and the have tos and the musts. Those are words we need to replace with I can, I want, I desire, I choose. All of those words are way more empowering than those words that ultimately make you feel trapped and powerless. And then those generalization words of always, I always fail, I never have, what I want, everybody thinks the same about me, all the people have shown me that, dot, dot, dot. See, the generalizations are also one of those big traps, these big power traps, where our inner communication ultimately works against us and just reinforces old limiting beliefs that we have been stuck in. So just be mindful, be really aware of, how do I talk to myself? What are the stories? What are the words I'm using? How do I describe the world? And just by changing that description, does the world look a little bit more bright and has a little bit more possibility? Now, that's the talking, but then there is also the listening, which is even worse for many of us. Do you really listen to yourself? There are these spontaneous thoughts, these subconscious ideas that are bubbling up from the depths from within. And often we are either just ignoring those thoughts because we don't like them, or we just let those thoughts rummage in our mind because somehow we are buying into them. Or we get really mad at ourselves that we even dare to have those thoughts. Let's say it's a worry thought or it's an anxiety thought. We don't like it. And then we are responding with anger and frustration. But where is the empathy? Where is that sense of, oh, there is a part of me that's right now concerned. There's a part of me that feels really small. Or maybe a part of me just feels a little hopeless or not very motivated. Can we have that leadership role and attend with empathy to whatever part of us right now feels this way, and try to do a little inner communication of saying, don't worry about it. We can do this, and here's how. Or you don't have to right now do everything at once. I know you feel overwhelmed. Let's just take it one step at a time. Just being like an adult leader who would somehow comfort and at the same time nudge a person that you lead, maybe a family member, a child, a colleague, above or beyond that obstacle that they see, that worry that holds them back. listening is really an important skill, and I feel like we don't do it enough. Same thing with our body. We don't listen to our body. We do eat the hot sauce, even though at night we have indigestion. We always eat too much, even though half an hour before our last bite, we already were full. We drink too much. We don't sleep enough. We don't give ourselves the rest, also mental rest we need, even though our head is turning or we get more and more agitated the longer we are watching TV or surfing on the net. There are a lot of things that there are a lot of aspects of us that try to talk to us, that try to communicate with us, not getting through. Somehow we are not listening. So when we are meditating, the idea is that we just shut our mind off and then somehow, watch the thoughts floating away, all this good stuff, but use the stillness of meditation also to be just more aware of what is communicating with you, whether it's your thoughts, your emotions, your body. Just use that also as a part of your inner communication. Have your mind open, have your heart open to whatever wants to talk with you, whatever wants to get your attention. That's another way of being a good leader. We'll be right back. Hi, Dr. Friedemann here. Thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more about fear and anxiety, here you'll find guided meditations, webinars, and interviews with some of the most renowned experts in the field of empowerment. Delve into the over 230 videos and more to come every week.